Hello, this is Bev, and today my special guest is Kate Arthy. Welcome to you, Kate.
Hi, Bev. Thank you.
So today we're here, it's the beginning of September, and we're going to talk about all sorts of things. But first, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do?
Sure. So I live on the Sunshine Coast with my husband. I don't have children yet. We plan to eventually. And I've been in the working in the health space for over 15 years. I studied exercise science at university and worked as a personal trainer, having my own business for 4 years. And just wanted to help people in a much broader sense. And that has led me down the path to what I do now in the space of personalized health. And my husband and I have a business called Lifestyle Artists. And I predominantly work with entrepreneurial-minded women, and Steve works with the guys mainly. And we help people, I help women to understand their individual body and therefore live aligned to what their body needs in terms of all these different lifestyle factors, sleep being one of those. So I'm passionate about health, my own health, and that about others. And I don't think I would want to do anything else really.
That's great, yeah. We're singing from the same hymn sheet here. Yeah. And so, Kate, tell me a little bit about your well-being journey, because I know that you recently wrote a blog about it, so it's sort of in the public domain. So share your well-being journey with me, please.
Sure. So, long story short, there's the long version and the condensed version, which is in my blog. But basically, through life, we all go through life. Even like as a child, life stresses, and then I was a very active child as well, doing all the different sports. So my body was under a lot of stress. I can now look back and notice that. A lot of other factors I think came into play, being on the contraceptive pill for about 5 years, being exposed to Epstein-Barr virus. So lots of different things I think contributed to me ultimately ending up with an autoimmune thyroid condition and adrenal fatigue. They were the main things I had going on. And I didn't understand exactly what was wrong with me. For quite a while, I was having these fatigue symptoms. I started to not be able to recover from high intensity training that I'd been used to doing my whole entire life. And so it was really quite insidious the way that it came on. And because I do and have always really looked after myself and eaten really well, I don't think the symptoms impacted me as much as they could have. Like I could still function day to day. I was just really tired. My hair was falling out. I started to notice dark circles, just little things that lots of other people experience, and you think, well, that's normal, So it wasn't until I got the diagnosis that my thyroid was super crazy high levels, and I had the antibodies to Hashimoto's disease. So that was really the point of where I knew to kind of target. And so I did lots of different things, spent lots of time and money and energy trying to sort that issue out, and you name it, I did it. And I got some good results, but I was probably to where I am now. I used to say I got to about 90%, but where I am now, I'd say I was probably around 80% of the way there to being completely well. And then it wasn't until I discovered what I do now in helping my clients with is this field of epigenetics and personalized health, where I really got to understand the pathway of disease in my individual body. So two people could have this autoimmune thyroid condition, but it will be 2 different disease pathways for different body types. And so understanding how it was operating in my body and therefore the pathway to wellness for my individual body. And so in a matter of 6 months, I was able to dramatically improve in my condition. And I don't know if you can say technically I'm cured or what the situation is, but my thyroid blood levels are all back to normal. I'm back to training high intensity like I used to and can recover no problem. I don't have the fatigue like I used to. So many of those symptoms, there's a lot more I won't go into, but yeah, I would say now probably I'd say I'm almost 100% well. I'm just getting back my fitness and strength that I'd lost over about 4 years of not being able to do what I was used to doing. So I think that's where I'm at the moment. But, I really believe everything happens for a reason, and it's really allowed me to have that empathy for my clients who are going through, the chronic health journeys that we've talked about and that you've been on as well. Really understand where people are coming from and understanding that journey of exactly what your book talks about, that trying to hold that hope as you're going through that journey to come out the other side. And I had some amazing people around me to help me to do that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. So good to hear somebody who's sort of being able to look back and see that actually the path may have been windy, but you're on the right one now. So that's great.
Absolutely.
So, Kate, what happened for you on this journey that you didn't expect?
Well, I suppose like I alluded to, when you're in a place like that and you feel like you're doing all the things that you can do, and some days are harder than others, and I had this kind of hope that find exactly what my body needed to be 100% well and healthy, and not just like substandard health, but like thriving in health, that I would wake up feeling energetic in the morning, that I could, do everything that I wanted to do with my life because my health was at that level to have those experiences. And so, because I feel like I'm a very glass half full kind of person and see life that way. So I always kind of had those hopeful visions of that's where I'd really love my health to be. But then, you're in the middle of it, and having the beautiful people around you remind you in those tough times of, yes, this is where we're heading. But realistically, I didn't expect to get there. It was more of a wishful, hopeful feeling. And so I guess what I didn't experience was to find what I use with my clients in this genetics platform that was exactly what my hope was, but I never even knew existed out there, that we could actually understand an individual's health needs, not just this one-size-fits-all approach that's regularly out there. So I didn't know about it, and probably so that discovery was probably the most unexpected thing, and how well I got so quickly through that path was definitely unexpected.
So for those people listening who don't know what epigenetics is, can you just give a brief explanation?
Yeah, sure. So, we have our genetics, and that's our framework of what makes us who we are, and that's unchangeable. That's just how the way it is. Whether you're 5 years old or 85, your genes are your genes. But what does change is the environment around you, and that's influencing how your genes are responding on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute basis So epi meaning outside of. So it's your genes plus the environment gives us epigenetics. And, you know, I ask people, so we have this, you know, formula, it's your genes plus your environment give you your current state of health. And I ask people what combination or percentages do you think make up your genes and your environment to give 100% of your current situation? And some people say, oh, 50-50, 60-40, but it's actually only 5% is contributed to from your genes. Yes, it's important and it's your framework, and it makes up your natural wiring and why you do the things that you do. But 95% is contributable by your environment and your lifestyle, which is a good thing. It means we have a lot of control over this end result being us right now. So even if you have experienced, you know, I have this conversation with my clients a lot where they're worried about, particularly women, of heading down the same path as their mother, the same health path as their mother in different ways. And when you really understand the power of epigenetics and how much control you have over this pathway that you're on, it doesn't have to be that way. You can have a completely different pathway. We see this, you know, with the breast cancer gene, for example. You can have the breast cancer genes and not have breast cancer, depending on your environment and your lifestyle factors. So that's an example of epigenetics.
And so in layman's terms is that the environment influences whether that gene is expressed or not, or on or off, you know, like a light switch. Yeah.
Correct.
So you may have the gene, for example, for heart disease, but it doesn't mean you'll get heart disease if you take care of the environment that creates the conditions that for you to get heart disease. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
And so the trickiest part here is knowing, well, what's the right environment for me and my body so that I can switch the good genes on and turn the bad ones off, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that makes it easy for everyone to understand.
Yeah.
So what I'm really interested is, because I did my 360 pH 360 profile with you, and we went through the different body types. So what I'm interested in is, for those different body types, there's obviously needs of, you know, when to be at rest and when to be at play and those type of things.
You know, we've just been talking about genetics. We've got three main body types, being a mesomorph body type, an ectomorph body type, and an endomorph body type. Now, any one of those body types can be entrepreneurial minded, but the meso and the ectomorphs, so I'm a mesomorph body. These, just to give you a bit of an idea, these body types are generally quite athletic. They've got a high metabolism, and they're natural early risers. So they have energy come high in the morning, and then it slowly peters out through the day. Then we've got the ectomorphs, which are quite similar. They're a lighter frame naturally, and they are typically quite headstrong. So they're very driven, ambitious, motivated. So they'll, and they don't like being told what to do. So they're not very good employees. So they're generally quite entrepreneurial minded. And both of those I've just mentioned, the meso and the ecto, they're both early risers and have this high energy in the morning, peters out. And then we have your endomorph body types. And these are people that naturally have a higher body mass, and their natural rhythm of their body and energy is that because they are a natural night owl. So if you are the type of person that you kind of have more energy in the evenings and you're wide awake in the evenings and your mind is going in the evenings and you don't really want to go to bed that early, you might be this natural night owl type. and therefore, but sleep is still really important, as we know, and you still might need those 8 hours. And so you need that, regardless of what time you're waking up, you still need those 8 hours. So you might be naturally waking up a little bit later and need this slow, steady, stress-free start to the morning. And so the energy flow of this body type is that it will naturally increase energy throughout the day. So it's lower in the morning and it will naturally increase through the day. And so our beautiful endomorphs, as you can kind of see, their natural rhythm of their body is the least conducive to how society runs, right? Where, you know, particularly in corporate, as you would have experienced, that, you know, you're go first thing in the morning in the office nice and early, and, you know, you're this high intensity and then often expected to work late hours at night. And so if that's how corporations in the world are working and operating, it's generally how the majority of society is running. And so often endomorphs are pushing themselves to get up early in the morning and, you know, early bird gets the worm, and get motivated, get pumped up, get out there. You know, you might be going to a boot camp and, you know, trying to get your exercise in the morning because you don't have the energy for it later in the day. And you're trying to do this mesomorph and ectomorph rhythm, but really it's not what is how your body is naturally wired and not what it needs, and it's just going to be causing it stress. And so you really need this slow, steady, stress-free start to the day. So and also these mesomorph type bodies can often have this ectomorph mind. So they have this constant struggle between having a driven mind but having a chilled body. And so again, when you understand your individual body and can satisfy the best times to use your mind and satisfy that driven ambition, but then understand when you need rest and relaxation and the rhythm that your body needs to move at, you can then be not putting your body under so much stress, but still be achieving those things that are important to you in your business and your life goals and things like that. Did that answer your question?
Yes. And what I want to add to that is that if you're listening and thinking, well, I say I'm a night owl, what I want to say to you is that usually it's a story. Usually people who call themselves a night owl need an explanation or a justification for their behavior. So yes, there might be some people who are more natural to go to bed later in the evening. But I think what my concern is, based on the people that I work with and the people that I'm interacting with, is that there's this misguided belief that I can work better at night because I haven't been productive during the day. So you're not saying you're off the hook that you aren't ever productive during the day. What you're saying is that there's one body type that actually is more naturally, the energy arises through the course of the day. Yeah. So if I couple what your sort of system talks to and what I know from ancient Chinese medicine, is we still need to be at rest, even if we're not sleeping, from about 9 p.m. at night. Absolutely. Because of refreshing the endocrine system. Absolutely. So you talked about Hashimoto's. So I don't want people to think that, oh, here's my ticket to be working late at night. No, it's not. That's not what Kate's saying. What I'm understanding and what I know from my own work in this area is that whilst so your working day will be slightly different to somebody who is of a different body type. So if you have that slow energy release, you would probably be doing most of your work from about 11 a.m., 1 p.m., thereon afterwards. Yes. But if you've got a young family that's not practical either. So, for example, if you do then tend to work later, you still need your 7.5 to 9 hours of sleep. So are your children going to let you sleep in the morning? Maybe not. So I think there needs to be adaptations. And like you say, is know your own body. I think that's like the real thing, is get to know your own body. So I think for me, like, what are some of the strategies then?
Well, if you're naturally an early riser, then you're going to be needing to go to bed, a bit earlier to get your, minimum 7, ideally 8, and then some will need maybe a little bit more hours sleep. But for example, I'm an early riser. My ideal window to wake up is between 6 and 7 a.m. So my ideal time to go to bed is to be asleep by 10 p.m. And for my individual body as well, my mind is going. And so I know that if I need to be asleep by 10, that I need to stop thinking, particularly with work or anything really, by at least 9 p.m. in order to wind that process down and wind my body down to be asleep by 10 p.m. I love the analogy you've used before, babe, and it sticks in my mind all the time is, if you're driving on a highway, you don't expect to stop straight away. You need time to slow down in order to come to a stop. I love that. So, it's in order to be asleep by 10, in order to then wake between 6 and 7 the next day. And then when I'm up, for my particular body type, movement first thing in the morning is ideal for me. Whereas other body types, that's not ideal. And so movement generally, and yes, meditation, but for me, movement is a form of meditation. It doesn't necessarily mean to be sitting still and silent and doing nothing. For some body types, that is just annoying. They can't do it. But exercise is a form of meditation for the mind. So again, do what is enjoyable for you. You don't have to do what, the hardcore boot camp thing just because, that's what the next person is doing. Yeah. But some kind of movement that you enjoy. It might even just be stretching. For those ectomorph body types who are really in their head, as soon as they're an early riser as well, and as soon as they wake up, they're going to feel a tendency for their mind to start to race straight away. And so for them, really having a still mind early in the morning when they first wake up is really important for them before they allow their mind to go off and racing. And so whatever allows them to have that stillness of mind, whether it's meditation or moving meditation or stretching or exercising or whatever it is for them, to have that still mind is great. So they're the early risers. And then did you want me to talk about
because we just need people to know that it's not something you're going to use as your reason why you avoid bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so again, our beautiful endomorphs who are not a little bit different to our early risers. So this, exactly like you said, even though you might naturally be a night owl, again, in the chronobiology is what it's called, is the ideal timings of all these lifestyle factors, which is all coming from your genes. They're called clock genes that respond to light and dark cycles. So these beautiful endomorph bodies who are naturally night owls, they still need to be in this alpha state. So if you know the different brainwave states, alpha is in a relaxed state, which from around 9 p.m. Yep. So, then any higher brain activity than that example work is not really a relaxed state. but it could be something creative like journaling, or even a movie that's not stressful. So nothing like an action or a drama that's, if you're really the kind of person like me who gets so involved in movies, you know, make it a light, relaxing thing. But again, we want to be careful of the digital screens late at night. So reading is obviously like a book, not a Kindle, so screens. Yeah. You can do other things like, you know, blue blocker glasses and different things like that. That's a whole nother conversation about not affecting your circadian rhythm of light and dark cycles in terms of screens. But you're exactly right, Bev, not stimulating the brain through any kind of stimulation, so that your body is in this nice alpha state, relaxed state from at least 9 p.m. But you'll naturally maybe stay awake till like 11 p.m. and that's okay. So then obviously 8 hours from there, you might not be getting up until 7 or even a little bit later. Mm-hmm. It's natural for night owls to be up at midnight for some bodies, and therefore you're going to sleep in until around 8. And because these endomorph body types, sometimes they can appear as lazy, but that is just the rhythm and flow of their body. I have so many clients who have this revelation of that's just the natural flow of their body, and they can now let go of that whole I'm lazy because I'm sleeping in thought.
Yeah.
Where it's not, that's what your body needs. So in terms of strategy, I've talked about the night, but the next morning, really important that these body types have this slow, steady, stress-free start to the day. Now, for some of my mum clients, when children are up early, and this may not be necessarily possible, and you're up early, you definitely want to make sure you're going to bed a little bit earlier so you're getting your sufficient sleep in. But you might be waking up at 5 or 6 a.m. with young ones, but still, if you are this endomorph body type, you still need this slow, steady, stress-free start to the day, so that the intention needs to be there even if you aren't getting a sleep in. Yeah. And so adjusting your morning as much as you can to incorporate that type of an atmosphere. So some of my mums have beautiful music on in the mornings that relaxes them to keep the household nice and calm. They'll do as much as they can the night before, so there's less stuff to do in the mornings. So it's not this hectic rush to get to school or daycare or out the door. It's this nice, steady, stress-free start to the day is what they need, and to ease into their day. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense.
Good. So I'm going to quickly summarize that. So essentially, all of us need to be at rest in a relaxed state from 9 p.m. Some of us need to be asleep, but if we're not asleep, we need to allow our bodies the time to sleep for that optimal window that gives us the restorative sleep.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in all of these things, like you say, if you've got these changes, you know, your genetics is expressing one need, your environment's expressing another. So you don't want to be in conflict for too long, because if you create a sleep deficit over time, that is when things like chronic fatigue and all these other autoimmune disorders start to surface their heads too, because your immune system is compromised by lack of sleep. So just be mindful of those sort of things. Mm-hmm. So that was a great conversation, Kate. So tell me, what are your tips for living fabulously?
Well, I would say definitely number one, and what I'm preaching to people all the time, is to understand your individual body and your needs. And obviously, with what I just discussed, seeing that through the lens of personalized health and knowing that you're an individual and it's not this one size fits all approach. just is a complete game changer. It's like chalk and cheese when you understand your own individual needs. So I would say going on that journey of understanding and listening to your own body, which is kind of my next point, is listen to your body. Again, I've always been very good at listening to my body, even pre this personalized health journey. But I'll give you an example. Through experiencing adrenal fatigue, prior to understanding my personal body, if I was feeling tired and fatigued, I would naturally think, I need to rest more. Whereas now, understanding my individual body, one of the most important things to my body is to be moving daily. And that movement actually creates energy in my body. Sorry for the light on my face there for the people who are watching my video. So now, understanding my body through that lens of epigenetics and personalized health, if I'm feeling fatigued, I know I need to move, which will give me more energy. So it's this complete opposite perspective of what I have now when I hear that my body giving me this symptom and then listening through that lens and that perspective as opposed to before. So listening to your body, definitely important. And just a little caveat I'll say there for some people is it comes naturally to some people to listen to their body more easily than others. So if you struggle at the moment to listen to your body, or you don't really know what that is, it's okay. You can learn that. You'll get there. It just comes naturally to some than others. But it's definitely important. And number 3, I would say, is in the same theme, is just to stay in your own lane. I had a great yoga teacher once, and it's always stuck with me. This was so many years ago, of just to keep your eyes on your own mat. Don't look left, don't look right. Just worry about yourself. It sounds selfish, but don't compare yourself to other people. You are unique. There's nobody like you. So particularly when it comes to health, just keep your eyes on you. You'll get better then at listening to your own body rather than the noise of what's going on outside. And then you can just stay in your lane and, do what you're meant to do and go on that path rather than comparing to other people.
Yeah, that's so important, isn't it? Because that whole comparisonitis, if I don't feel good enough about myself, then I do silly things like eat or do, overstress my body with exercise when it's not really what my body needs. So good sound 100%. Guidance there. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, Kate. That was a great conversation. And remember, everybody, you don't have a free ticket to avoid going to bed. We're still saying that you need to get to bed. What we do want you to do is, though, just pay attention to what your needs are.
Absolutely. Thanks, Bev.